It's okay to be spiritual, even if you're not religious, don't have any crystals to put under the moon, and don't have time to meditate.
Because that's when life gets fun, becomes fulfilling, and then you discover that it really is okay to be spiritual.
This podcast is for entertainment purposes only. Views expressed are those of the hosts and guests' personal experiences. The information provided is not a substitute for professional advice, whether medical, legal, or otherwise.
Welcome back to another episode of It's Okay to be Spiritual. Hi, Lori.
Hey, Helen.
Signs and synchronicities of the week?
Yeah, let's talk about that. There's a few. I just want to talk about the galahs to start with. The birds have gone mad. So I have set galahs with my guides a very long time ago to mean a certain thing. And so this week I have had a galah walk across in front of my car so I couldn't drive on the road. Have you ever seen a galah walk?
Not very often, no.
No, not across a hot road.
No.
No, that doesn't make sense.
And they normally fly off so they don't get hit.
Agree.
Well, birds in general.
I had to stop to let it cross.
It's not a duck.
You're welcome. And then I went to kindy to pick up my daughter, and there was a cutout of a galah. Some child had cut the picture out of a book and left it below her bag. I don't know whose bag it belonged to, but it was left under my daughter's bag. Thank you, Spirit. So there was 3 galahs on that picture. I then asked for 2 galahs to sit on an aerial because I'm very specific as a sign for something. They came in. And then, just to top it off, when I was on school pickup, there was a galah with a broken wing next to the car park that I had to alert the principal about. Yeah, that was a bit sad, actually. And broken right wing.
Ooh.
Control. The masculine. The broken masculine. Interesting, right?
And it all depends what you set galahs to mean as your...
It certainly does.
Right. So I saw some galahs this week too.
Good for you. What were your galahs doing?
There was a thunderstorm and there were 3 galahs, which I thought was quite representative. So for me, galahs kind of remind me to have more fun.
Mm-hmm.
And so there were 3 galahs. It was... The thunderstorm was just beginning, looked like it was going to hail, and we were thinking about where should we move the cars to. And the galahs were thinking about how can we have more fun? And they're on the power line, hanging upside down, opening their wings up to have a bath, and they looked like they were having a blast. And I just thought of I thought of you, and I thought of our friend Jane. And the 3 of us are like, oh, man, we're going to be having some fun in the future.
I love that.
No thunderstorm's going to scare the pants off us.
No. The birds have been a bit wild this week, actually, which to me, when the birds go wild, is signs of an energetic shift because animals are very receptive to the universe and the push and pull. So I think that, the galahs were definitely out in force this week.
Anything else?
Yeah, so interestingly enough, I have a massive bolt stuck through my front right-hand tyre of my car.
Right hand again?
Yes.
Right side again?
There we go again. The broken masculine, the damage in the but in contrary to that, I have had a nail in my back left tyre for maybe a month or 2 that my husband said he told me about, which I don't claim to remember that conversation.
This is not marriage counselling.
I'd like to check the footage, but I didn't know that was there and it wasn't bothering me. Isn't that interesting? But now I have a massive screw, and it's a screw with a washer. I don't even know how this happened, but it's in the front right, and every time I moved I could hear it, and it was click when I'm moving on like car parks, and something just wasn't right. And then I looked and I thought, I can't pull that out. It's going to pop the whole tire when I pull that thing out. So I figured I have to get it fixed, right? I can't drive around with a bolt in my right front tire.
No.
That's not
No
good.
one can drive around with faulty tires.
So I drove into the first tire place on my way into town when I had a spare moment, and I dinged the bell at the counter and no one came. I dinged it again and no one came. And then I just had a real urge in my body that I wasn't meant to be there, and I wasn't meant to get the tyre fixed, and they weren't the people who were meant to fix my tyre. So I just left, and now I still have a bolt in my front tyre.
Wow.
Make of that what you will, but we could dissect it because...
Do you want to?
Well, we could do the cars represent.
Yeah, so, well, can I tell my...
Yes,
so
please.
Laurie sends me the text about these nails and bolts in her tyres. Tyres are really important to me too, by the way, because they're such a thing for safety, right? Like in the practical, physical world. So I look up, there's Annette Noontill's book, it's a body guidance type book. And normally it's about, the pains and ills in your body, but at the back there's a car section, which I think is a lot of fun. So I send Laurie the picture from the book, and it says basically a spiritual fear, wasn't it?
Back left was not stepping into your spiritual journey because there's a fear, and the front right was fear of moving forward, which to me, like right knee, for some reason I think of the right front of my car as my knees. I don't know why I think that, but it's, anything down that right-hand side is like stepping forward, like that's the masculine energy.
And letting go of control and ego and stuff like that.
Yeah, and there's an underlying fear there that is now represented by this bolt in my tyre that I'm trying very hard to work out what it is, but I don't even know this one.
But it'll come.
Yeah.
They always come.
They do.
Easily and effortlessly as well.
Yeah. And there'll just be a moment, I think, where it will all suddenly make sense. And
yep.
I'm picking when I find someone to fix my tyre because I'm busy and I don't have time for this. So there will be a point.
Sorry, Sauce.
Sorry.
I want to be spiritually advanced, but I just don't have time, so make it happen overnight. Thanks.
I don't have time. Can you call the tyre place and get my car booked in for me?
And then drive me there.
Yeah, and drop me at work after. Thank you. I mean, look, and process the fear in the same circumstance.
Yeah. So I don't have to do it. Thanks, Sauce.
That sounds really great. So very representative, though. And then I did a card reading on myself in similar theme about resisting transitions.
Yeah, so that's the part of the story I left out.
Yeah.
So I send Laurie the pictures from the information from Annette's book, and Laurie's like, nah. Nah, that's not right.
I'm fearless. What are you talking about? And so I think, right.
And I was like, give her more time.
I'm like, no, give me some cards. And so I'm like, okay, let's talk about this. Come on, guys. Let's have a conversation. And so I was getting death reversed, which is resisting the transformation. And there was another one I was getting that was symbolic of it as well. But there was a very strong theme of fear of stepping forward, fear of stepping into this new thing.
Wow.
And my right knee was twitching as well. So there was an energetic movement or block or something going on with my right knee, which is all insanely connected.
So here we are busting through the fears of stepping forth in this podcast, but it'll be something else as well, probably.
Yeah, it has to be something else. This is fun. This isn't fearful.
Yes.
No.
Careful what we wish for, right?
Yeah. Well, let's see what card we draw, hey?
Well, let's put the pack back together again.
How do you imagine a past loved one?
Oh, this is a really important topic. Crikeys, I'll say that at the start of every card. There's a really beautiful part. I didn't ever really think about how I thought about a past loved one until I read about it in A Course of Love. So you know how important A Course of Love is to me. So it really got me thinking. Anyhow, it asks, do you think about a past loved one as fully embodying still their personality and their traits and how they look, except they look, 30 or 40 or 50 years younger, like they look how you would imagine them or knew them to look in their prime. And they look healthy and radiant, and they're still opinionated and they still have their personality. And you might think of them when you're doing something, oh, what would Nana think about me doing this? Or my father would hate me for doing this because he used to always do it this other way. Or So you still sort of imagine them with their personality and their opinions and the way they liked to do things, but they're free. They're not burdened with physical limitation or physical pains or disease or anything like that. They're just sort of the most beautiful version of themselves. Anyway, how do you think about a past loved one?
So for me, like my past loved ones, like my husband's grandma is one of my guides. So I obviously think about her and talk about her a lot. And I only knew her as an older person. So she appears as she was as I knew her, not right at the end, but like those in the older years of her life. But she always comes through and
But
says,
is it the prime of the time you knew her?
yes, because I didn't know her for that long. But yeah, it would be. And she comes through and she always says my name with 3 clear syllables, like Lorinda, Lorinda. Like that's how she used to greet me. And I really I hear her every time she comes in. It's like that 3-syllable drop in and I know it's her. But when I've read spirits for other people, you get the whole picture. You get like how they felt as when they were working in their prime and then how they felt at the end and any ailments they had. But you feel the love that they had for that person or the emotion they have for the person you're reading. So when I imagine a past loved one, it's that memory of like the fun time we had together and the real like cemented memories. But when you read, like the few times I've read a spirit, you get the whole picture.
I don't typically read spirits. Like I don't have that mediumship tendency. But I have had in really sort of deep or big healings maybe a person come through for someone, and the love that comes through is overwhelming, always makes just so many tears. It's just an overwhelming love.
Yeah. And that's so nice, right? That you can tap into that. I don't know if many people get to do that.
Really?
In this lifetime.
Yeah.
To that extent, like really bringing in that love and that embodiment and really letting it fill your entire body of that spirit.
It is so moving.
Agree. Yeah, I'm not crying. You are in the sessions.
I think too, when we think about, going back to the topic of the podcast, how we think about a past loved one, what if we thought about ourselves that way? What if we thought about ourselves like light and joyful and loving and free and unlimited?
And that really good part of the existence, our favourite part of being here.
It just, I have practiced it at times, like I've brought this to the forefront of my mind for a week or something and just practiced imagining myself more like that. It lightens everything. And then the physical world drops in and I don't know, maybe it's tax time or something and I come straight back to the real world. But it does make an enormous difference how we see ourselves.
And sometimes you can connect just with the name of the person too. So when you want to connect into their energy, you can just go like Grandma May and say it a few times in your head and then it just comes through as an energy, not necessarily like an image of the person.
Are we talking about, is this a podcast, like a dual podcast? You're hearing one train of thought and I'm over here in another.
I mean, that's the whole thing, right? We see this very differently.
We do.
Yeah. And I've never actually thought about it before. You did this card and I was a bit resistant on it. And I can see
there's the truth.
Because we're very different on how we imagine past loved ones and connecting to them. And
yeah, well, you've got a recent past loved one in your family. Do you think of him as how he was when he passed? He was unwell when he passed?
No, definitely not. But I actually see cockatoos and think of him.
Yeah.
Because he was the cockatoo. So my father-in-law passed and he would hand feed cockatoos in his backyard and always feed them. And so now we get cockatoo symbology and there's a really good story, I'll tell at a later date about this, but when he is sending us a message or dropping in, it's the cockatoos and it's him, and it's probably my vivid memories of that are with my eldest child on his hip feeding in the backyard, which was, probably 10 years before he passed at least.
Yeah, so you'll remember him like that. And then one day you'll catch yourself doing something and you'll think, oh, he wouldn't have liked it done like this. Or he would be loving that we're doing this because this was his favourite thing to do. Or, but you'll think of him free and pain-free, free in his mind too, free to be joyful and happy and just loving his family.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a lovely way to think of it. Right. I think that wraps it up.
Me too.
Lots of stories and then thinking about how we imagine a past loved one.
Yeah, just observe it. There's no right and wrongs.
No, and your spiritual gifts may present when you're imagining. Whether you're someone who visualizes them, whether you feel them, whether you hear words that they might say. And tapping into that will open up your intuition as well and how you work with spirit.
So until the next episode.
We'll catch you later.
Bye for now.